And welcome back to the show to be named later, where we're talking baseball kind of whenever. I'm your host, Chris Gianta. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Curran, and we are going to be talking about the 2015 Mets in the second part of episode 45, our last episode of history
Yeah,
until about November. Hopefully November.
right. Hopefully, yeah. I wouldn't want it to be any earlier.
Yeah. And Daniel, give us a perspective on what was going on with the Mets leading up to 2015.
In 2014, the New York Mets went 79 and 83. Obviously, they missed the playoffs. You're not going to make up the playoffs with that record. They had no winning season since 2008 and no playoffs since 2006. They had a relatively quiet offseason. Like, if anything, they signed Michael Kadire as a free agent, but even then, he was aging. However, one big addition that they would be getting that was not there in 2014 was their 2013 ace, Matt Harvey. He would be returning from Tommy John surgery in 2015. And Bleacher Report had them finishing 82 and 80, third in the NL East, not great. And no one on Sports Illustrated's staff had them making the postseason, whether that be as the division winner, whether that be in the wild card. They all had them miss in the postseason. Why? Well, why don't you take a look down in DC? The defending 96-win Washington Nationals, the division champs, they had just added Max Scherzer to their team. This was the team to beat. They were a 100-win team projected to be, and nobody had a chance at beating them at the start of the season.
So, despite these low expectations, the 2015 Mets start off hot. They win 15 of their first 20 games, and it was their best 20-game start since 1986 when they won their last World Series. It was also the best record in baseball at the time, and they were, after 20 games, were up 4.5 games in the National League East. They also, in that span, had an 11-game win streak, which we will see after this ad. Every time I'm talking and then a video comes up, it just surprises me.
Yeah.
I always forget.
Again, the 1-2. He struck him out, and the ball game is over. The New York Mets have tied a club record with their 11th consecutive victory as they sweep the Braves and put together the first 10-0 homestand in Mets history. A spectacular beginning to the home season as the Mets go to 13-3, matching their best start ever. What a show the Mets have.
So how about that? The Mets win 11 games in a row in the beginning, not to start, but in the beginning of their 2015 season. And 11 of the 15 wins had a save in them. No one else had double digits up to this point. The team also had a 2.93 ERA during this 20-game stretch. That was second in the National League. Matt Harvey went 4-0 with a 3.04 ERA and 10.5 strikeouts per nine. Bartolo Colon went 4-0 with a 2.77 ERA, one walk in 26 innings, and his walks per nine, which was 0.35 walks per 9 innings, those led Major League Baseball at that point. Also, Harvey and Colon were not the only pitchers to excel. Jacob deGrom went 2-2 with a 2.96 ERA. How fitting that Jacob deGrom has an even record with an ERA below 3.
Nothing has changed in 5 years.
Even in their best year, one of their best starts in the franchise history, Jacob deGrom cannot get above 500.
Still gets no love.
But a 2.96 ERA from the man in his sophomore season in Major League Baseball. And Jarice Familia in the back end of the bullpen, he had 9 saves. That led the majors. Those 9 saves were successful because he had a 1.69 ERA and also 11 strikeouts per 9. Lucas Duda, on the offensive side of the Mets, he slashed 319, 422, 507 for a 929 OPS. Also had a 402 WOBA and 162 weighted runs created plus during these first 20 games.
So after the big start for the Mets, they start skidding back down to earth, and it was a steep slope. They went down 21-32 from April 28th until June 24th. The Nationals during that time went 32-20, and the Mets were 36-37, 1 game under 500, 3.5 games back of the Nationals for first in the division. And during that stretch, the offense as a whole hit 234, 293, 366 for a 658 OPS. Not good. Daniel Murphy got injured in early June after being a big part of their offense as well. So he was absent. Juan Lagares, the team's B-WAR leader from the previous season, was hitting 242, 276, 342, 618 with a 271 WOBA and 72 weighted runs created plus during that stretch. Also, David Wright, the captain, their third baseman, he got injured in mid-April. However, there was a cool moment. On May 31st, the great Bartolo Colon came up to bat against the Marlins and rocked Citi Field like only he knows how.
Exciting at bat in baseball. His second career extra base hit, and Colon grabs it.
And there it is, Big Sexy, as we all know him by. Bartolo Colon hit a double, and of course, this double made him the first player in baseball history to hit a double on a Sunday while in his 40s, having a first name that ends in the letter O and being born on the 24th of a month. That is a real stat. Thank you, Chris. How about that? I mean, I'm sure Gary Cohen was just waiting for it every time he stepped up to the plate on a Sunday.
Yes. Yeah, every Sunday Bartolo started. I think MLB Network had, they just
the live look-ins.
They went away from their stream and they had the camera on Bartolo in the batter's box. I think that's just
all baseball. I remember just waiting for a time that someone in their 40s would hit a double on a Sunday with a first name that ends in an O and being born on the 24th of a month. And Bartolo Colon, who better, was the one to do it.
Yeah, and the Earth has been around for millions of years, and we lived during the moment where someone in their 40s hit a double while having the first name that ends in an O, who was born on the 24th of a month. It took
Sunday
millions of years to get to that, and we live during that time. We don't realize how lucky we are.
People talk about the great moments in the history of baseball. Hank Aaron breaking Babe Ruth's home run record. You got Cal Ripken Jr. breaking Lou Gehrig's consecutive game streak. And then, of course, Bartolo Colon, finally, after over 100 years of baseball, the first player to ever hit a double on a Sunday in his 40s while having a first name that ends in O, being born on the 24th of a month.
Yeah, I mean, that's beautiful. It's just beautiful.
Exactly. So things continue to get bad for the Mets after that point. I mean, it's all downhill from there. But on June 9th, the Mets faced the Giants and Chris Heston at home. And Chris Heston, the pitcher for the Giants that night, had been struggling. Over the last month, coming into that start, his 7.71 ERA was the worst in the National League among all qualifiers. And, well, the Mets have a pretty easy opponent on paper based on the last month. So let's see how that went.
On the mound, and you can't help but wonder, how is he handling this? Pitching in New York City, he has not allowed a hit, and he is 1 out away. Chris Heston delivers. Strike free throw! He has done it! Chris Heston has pitched a no-hitter, the 17th no-hitter in the history of the Giants. And it is Chris Heston who pitches it in his rookie season. And he was outstanding. From the first inning onward, this was one of those nights where how he looked in the first inning was a precursor of things to come. And he
So the Mets get carved up by Chris Heston there. And that's not a good one for them and their offense. So they needed a pick-me-up after that. And they would get it on June 28th when rookie Steven Matz got called up to make his major league debut. And it was a debut for the ages for Matz.
Steven Matz takes the mound for the first time at Citi Field, 24 years old, 6 years removed from having been drafted. 1-2 coming. And Bird goes around, strike 3. Matz strikes out Bird with a changeup, his first major league strikeout. No batting gloves, old school. And Matz gets his first big league plate appearance. He hit 304 at Vegas this year. He hits this one to center field. Hamilton going back. It's turned around, and it's over his head. To score is Siciliani. Campbell around third. He scores standing. And standing at second with a 2-run double. In his first major league at-bat is Steven Matz. The scouting report said he could hit, and he hit.
Who thought that Steven Matz's biggest first moment as a New York Met would come up at the plate?
His parents, Ron and Lori, are hugging each other and jumping up and down in their seats here at Citi Field. What a scene! This crowd is on its feet and roaring for Steven Matz. Here's the pitch. Breaking ball line to right center. That's a base hit. In the score is Mayberry. Manella around third. He's coming home. The throw to the plate is cut off by Votto, who throws to second. Too late to get Campbell. Steven Matz is on at first. He is 3 for 3 in his major league debut. Matz has driven in 4 of the Mets' 5 runs, and the Mets lead 5-2. Unbelievable. And Grandpa is beside himself.
2 men on, nobody out. Now the pitch. Swing, ground ball solely towards short. Tejada's got it. 2nd to 1, on to first. 2! A double play!
And Matz gets exactly what he needs.
The rookie. Winding and firing. Swing and a miss. He got him! Steven Matz gets him to the 7th inning stretch. He walks off tall and proud.
So after 110 pitches, Matz's day will come to an end. And he'll get one more standing ovation. One of the most memorable Mets debuts in franchise history will come to an end. A spectacular start to what the Mets hope will be a thrilling career for Steven Matz. What a day. He drives in 4, the first pitcher ever to do that in his debut. And the kid from Long Island did awfully good.
So Steven Matz with a debut for the ages on both sides of the ball, on offense and defense. Matz became the 5th pitcher since 1986 with 3 hits and 4 RBIs in a game on that day, and he did it in his major league debut.
Unbelievable. And becomes the 5th pitcher since 1986 with 3 hits and 4 RBI in a game.
How about that?
Deserved it. I think that was a little late, but wasn't paying enough attention. And that leads into the All-Star break. The Mets were 47-42 in the first half of their 2015 season, and they were 2 games behind Nationals, despite not being the best, they were still only 2 games behind the Nationals for first place in the division. And Jacob deGrom was the lone Mets All-Star, and he was one of 5 National League pitchers with an F-WAR of at least 3. Max Scherzer, Clayton Kershaw, Jake Arrieta, and Zach Greinke were all had 3 F-WAR in that 2015 season. DeGrom had a 2.14 ERA as well, and that was 5th in Major League Baseball. And that was all in 113 2/3 innings pitched. And in the 6th inning of the All-Star game, DeGrom, he was known to Mets fans, but he made sure that he was known worldwide in the 6th inning of his All-Star game.
Now it's Jacob deGrom, the right-hander, finds a strike to begin his night here in the 6th inning with the NL down by 2.
You got to see Jacob deGrom in person.
Well, hitters don't hit his fastball. There you go. The reason why he has such a forward release.
A guy who's finally getting his chance to be the everyday catcher for the A's as Kipnis digs in. There's Steven. He's made the most of his chance after the trade of Derek Norris to San Diego and bridging the AL.
And they can't get mad at us for not saying anything.
Here comes a 1-2 from deGrom. How about back-to-back strikeouts? The best stuff we've seen all night, in my opinion. There's Jose Iglesias, the shortstop for the Tigers. I mean, it just has different action on it.
It's out of the Hummer. I mean, just zoom. I guess he wanted to show off a little bit. Hey, I'm in the game. I can't just show you fastball.
You're right, just showing it off. Here comes the 0-2. Wow. Hi, I'm Jacob deGrom, and I have the chance with my stuff to just dominate baseball for years to come.
I think it's safe to say Joe Buck was right with that one at the end of that video.
I wasn't paying attention. What did he say?
He has the stuff to dominate baseball for years on end.
Yeah, I think he's definitely done that. He's got that.
Yeah. Well, he can't win games, so I mean, you really can't put too much emphasis on it.
I was about to say, how good really was this performance? The National League still lost the game.
Exactly. I mean, what are we doing? Yeah, I get it. You retired the side on 10 pitches, all strikeouts, but still, I mean, you didn't win the game. That's what you go out there to do.
Stop showing off. No one cares. Win the game, man. But anyway, out of the gate with in the second half for the 2015 Mets, they were not great. The Mets lost 6 of their first 8 games out of the gate in the second half, and they were tied for the worst winning percentage in the National League during the stretch. But luckily, the Nationals, the Washington Nationals, who were leading the National League East, they lost 5 out of 8, so only 1 game better than the Mets during the stretch. The Mets pitching produced the 3rd worst F-WAR in the National League during the stretch, and the offense slashed 232, 290, 285 for a 575 OPS. They also had a 252 WOBA, which was worst in the National League, and their 60 weighted runs created plus were 2nd worst in the National League. And the Mets at the end of this stretch were 49-48, 3 games behind the Washington Nationals.
So now this gets into the trade deadline drama that this team went through. The Mets needed a big bat desperately. Like, they had the starting pitching, they had Familia in the bullpen, their offense was lacking, and they needed to have that guy in their lineup. So on July 29th, during a game against the Padres, the Mets were in the middle of working out a trade with the Milwaukee Brewers for all-star outfielder Carlos Gomez. At that point, Gomez had the 21st best OPS in the majors since the start of 2013, and also the 25th best weighted runs created plus. So, this guy is an established, pretty good hitter. I mean, top 30 hitter in the game from the last 2.5 years. So that's a guy you're content with having on your team if you're the Mets. Now, at exactly 9 p.m., Ken Rosenthal tweets that the teams have a deal in place. Carlos Gomez is going to the Mets. Zach Wheeler and Wilmer Flores, a starting pitcher and a shortstop, they're going to be headed to Milwaukee. And Wilmer Flores was currently in the game as this was being tweeted. And, in this age of social media where everyone knows about what's going on in real time, Flores was able to get a final send-off before he eventually went to Milwaukee. And it was a pretty cool moment.
Nice curveball. Throws hard.
And a nice big hand for Wilmer Flores as he comes to bat. Most of these fans know that Wilmer's about to get traded. And social media being such these days, everybody knows what the situation is. It's a little odd that Wilmer's still in the game. But the fans giving him a nice send-off here. Ground to him right at the shortstop, Amarista. And Flores retired 2 out.
Never want to get traded. The first trade is always the most difficult. That had to be a very difficult at bat for him.
Well, he's been in this organization since he was 16 years old. But it's got to be strange for the other guys in the dugout too, right? You've got a player who's been in your organization for 7 years, who you valued, who you are trading clearly to bring back an important asset. And the fact that he's out there and risking injury at a time when you're trying to consummate the trade is strange in itself. But for him to be that emotional and out on the field just strikes me as odd.
Well, this is a business part of the game, Gary, and it can be heartless and unsympathetic. I am not one to provide a towel to cry on one's shoulder, but I feel for Wilmer. I know exactly what he's going through.
Well, this was after Wilmer Flores came off the field in the top of the inning. Terry Collins went over to him, and he had a rather lengthy heart-to-heart with Wilmer, and I don't know exactly what's being communicated here, but clearly Terry is concerned about what has happened here tonight, with Flores having spent the last 4 or 5 innings in limbo, with the world believing that he's been traded to Milwaukee, but the deal not yet consummated. It's led to tears for Wilmer Flores, and once the conversation was over, he took his equipment, headed down the tunnel, and it looks as though he is not going to take an at bat if his turn comes up here in the ninth. So it appears the Mets career of Wilmer Flores, at least for the moment, has come to an end. David Wright following Wilmer down the tunnel, and of course, David will have the right things to say, and his friend Ruben.
So, tough time for Wilmer Flores there. He is kind of learning in real time that he's getting traded, and he has that moment on the field. It was nice, though, that he got one final send-off with the Mets before going to Milwaukee. So then, at 10:55 p.m., hours later, Rosenthal tweeted that a few Mets writers had heard from Sandy Alderson that there was no trade. And hours later, it was reported that the Mets had actually backed out of the deal. Gomez had a hip issue that the Mets were concerned about, and the deal was off. It was canceled. Done. Wilmer Flores is staying. Despite that big moment, Carlos Gomez is not coming to the Mets. So now what do you do? If you're the Mets, you still need to get that big bat. And, well, Mets fans wouldn't have to wait much longer. 2 days later, on July 31st, the day of the trade deadline, the Mets were able to rebound and acquire Yoenis Cespedes from the Tigers. They gave up 2 prospects named Michael Fulmer and Luis Cessa. So this is it. The Mets, they've gotten their man, and now they're ready to fight back against the Nationals and try and make a pennant push. So now after that, hours after getting Cespedes, the Mets are welcoming the Washington Nationals to Citi Field for a 3-game weekend series. And oh, by the way, the Nationals were up by 3 games on the Mets. So now on Friday, it's a 1-1 game in the extras after Matt Harvey dueled Dallas on the Nats bullpen. And in the 12th inning, 2 days after being in tears on the field, Wilmer Flores, who is still on the Mets, is coming up with a chance to win the game for New York.
Flores drives it. Deep left center field. Taylor back near the wall. It's out of here! Flores ends it with a home run! Wilmer Flores night at Citi Field comes to a fitting close, and the Mets win it 2-1 in 12.
So Wilmer Flores hits a walk-off home run through all that drama afterwards. And as Brad Pitt once said, how can you not be romantic about baseball?
Yeah, I mean, he said it best.
That's right. So now the Mets are only down by 2 games in the division. And now on Saturday, their big prize comes to Citi Field for the first time.
As Cespedes makes his way to the plate. Well, we mentioned it during the open tonight. The Mets have had some significant mid-season pickups, going back to Don Clendenon in '69, Keith in '83, Mike Piazza in '98. But of all those guys, nobody has arrived with more home runs in season than Cespedes does. 18 home runs.
So Yoenis Cespedes gets a standing ovation after all of the drama in the trade deadline. The Mets finally have their guy. And in the 8th inning of this game, Lucas Duda came up after already homering twice in a tie game with the go-ahead run on second.
1-2. Hit to left, chasing Worth back to the warning track. It's over his head. Granderson will score. Cespedes held at third. Lucas Duda with an RBI double, and the Mets lead it in the 8th, 3-2.
So Duda drove in all 3 runs in this game, and the Mets were only 1 game back of the Nationals. So now on Sunday Night Baseball, rookie Noah Syndergaard goes 8 innings pitched, 7 hits, 2 runs, no walks, and 9 Ks from a rookie on the national stage. The offense was only provided in the 3rd inning, and it was all the Mets would need.
So 2 down, back to the top of the order now for Granderson. Granderson with a drive, deep right. It is gone. A 2-run homer as Citi Field explodes and the Mets take the lead.
17 home runs now. It's a hanging curveball. They want to go down and away with that pitch, and it just rolls into that happy zone for a left-handed hitter.
And now on the next pitch, Daniel Murphy sends one into the second deck. Back-to-back home runs make it 3-1 for the Mets. And it's quite a scene here in this ballpark right now.
Well, all of a sudden, this Met lineup can hurt you in so many different places.
Base hit left field, Cespedes. Most of the people who stood when Granderson homered haven't sat down yet.
Now Cespedes has his first hit.
Did he get enough? Did he keep it fair? Yes! 3rd home run of the inning for the Mets. His 9th home run in the last 8 games, and the 3rd given up amongst the last 4 batters by Jordan Zimmerman.
So the Mets would sweep the Nationals in this series, and they were tied for 1st in the division on August 2nd.
So they're tied in 1st place, and they keep it going in the month of August, tearing it up. They go 28 in the month of August. That was the best winning percentage in the National League. the Mets starting pitching in that span in the month of August had a 3.29 ERA, which was second in the National League. Matt Harvey was unbelievable in the month of August. He went 2-0, allowing just 1 earned run in 27 innings pitched for a .33 ERA. Bartolo Colon went 3-1 with a 2.9 ERA in 40 1/3 innings pitched in the month of August. Jacob deGrom went 2-1, above 500. I mean, what a miracle. deGrom went 2-1 with a 3.28 ERA and 10.85 strikeouts per 9 in 35 2/3 innings pitched. Mets hitters put up an 8.6 F4 during the month. That led Major League Baseball. They also led the National League in home runs with 45, runs scored with 168, RBI with 160, slugging with 479, OPS with 816, WOBA with 350, and weighted runs created plus with 126. And on August 21st, Yoenis Cespedes has the game of his life in Colorado.
They're playing Milwaukee, and they trail 3-1 in the 5th. Cespedes drives one toward the gap in right center. Gonzalez over. He won't get it. Cespedes to second with a 2-out double.
Well, that might be a good sign right there.
3-2 coming to Cespedes. And he whacks one in the air to deep right field. Back goes Gonzalez on the warning track. He'll make the catch. No, it's over his head and off the wall. It's out of here for a grand slam. Cargo trying to fake everybody out, but it went over the wall for a grand slam for Cespedes, and the Mets have a 7-1 lead. Cespedes takes one the other way. His 21st home run of the year, his 3rd as a Met, the Mets' 2nd grand slam of the season, and they put together a 6-run second inning to make it 7-1 New York. Cespedes hits one out to center field. Blackman ranging back to the warning track at the wall. It's out of here! Yoenis Cespedes with his 2nd home run of the night. Cespedes having a huge night, a double and 2 home runs, and the Mets have an 8-4 lead. Having fun at Coors Field. Cespedes deep to right center. Back goes Blackman near the wall. It's out of here! 3rd home run of the night for Yoenis Cespedes. And the Mets go back in front 10-8. Unbelievable. 3 home runs, 4 extra base hits, 7 runs batted in for Yoenis Cespedes, who's even wowing himself. And Cespedes pokes one through the right side for his 5th hit of the night. Well, no home run, but with the shift swung over to the left side, Cespedes has a 5-hit game. 1-2. Toward the gap in right center field. Gonzalez over. He makes the running catch to deny Cespedes his 6th hit of the night.
Unbelievable by Yoenis Cespedes. And that performance is particularly unbelievable because Cespedes is, to this day, this day, August 21st, 2015, Yoenis Cespedes' day is the only single game in Mets history where a player had 4 extra base hits and 7 RBI.
How about that?
And also then on August 24th, 3 days later, David Wright returned to the Mets lineup for the first time since April 14th. And he and the Mets put on an absolute show on that night of August 24th.
Kills lefties, and he kills in this ballpark.
He hits one to deep left field. That is gone. David Wright brings himself back into the lineup with thunder. First at bat coming back from injury at Citizens Bank Park, and he clubs one. That's hit in the air to deep left field, right down the line, headed toward the seats, and it's out of here. Juan Lagares with a home run. And this is playing like the Citizens Bank Park bandbox we remember.
Flores drives one deep left field, hit it toward the wall. It's out of here! Wilmer Flores with a line drive, 2-run homer. And the Mets hit their third home run of the night to creep back closer again. Darno hits one deep to left center field. Back goes Herrera. He takes a look, and it's out of here! Onto the concourse. Back-to-back home runs for Flores and Darno. And now it's 7-5. Home run derby at Citizens Bank Park. And he hits this one deep to left field. That heads toward the seats. It's out of here! And the Mets take the lead! Wilmer Flores, a 3-run homer, his second of the night. The Mets have become a powerhouse. Here's Kadire, who's doubled twice, and he drives one deep to left. That goes Ashley looking up, and it's out of here! On the night that his buddy returns from the disabled list, Michael Kadire goes off. Murphy drives one to deep right center field, hit it toward the wall. That ball is out of here! Daniel Murphy with the record tire, the Mets' 7th home run of the night. Cespedes drives one deep left field. That ball is out of here! A record-setting night for the New York Mets. Yoenis Cespedes puts on the icing with a 2-run homer and the Mets' 8th home run of the night, a new Mets club record.
Crazy offensive night for the New York Mets. And
in Philadelphia.
In Philadelphia. And the Mets became the first National League team with 8 home runs in a single game since the Braves on May 26, 2006.
How about that?
And the Mets finished the month of August 73-58 total on the year, and they were 6.5 games up on the Washington Nationals.
So now it's time for the Mets to shut the door on those Washington Nationals, and they had a great opportunity on September 8th when the Mets were in Washington, D.C., trying to put them away.
The Mets summoning the power of positivity against the Nationals on Tuesday. Bottom 6, Matt Harvey down 3-1. Bases loaded for Michael Taylor. This one gets by Yoenis Cespedes. A single and a 3-run error. The Nats have a seemingly comfortable 7-1 lead. But it's now 7-3, top 7. Bases loaded, 2 men away for Cespedes, who atones. A bases clearing 3-run double off Drew Storen. It's a 1-run game at 7-6. Then following back-to-back walks, Drew Storen issues another free pass to Lucas Duda on 4 straight pitches. We are tied at 7. Top 8 pinch hitter Kirk Newman-Heiss goes deep for the first time since his 3-homer game on July 12th. It's off Jonathan Papelbon. Mets have an 8-7 lead. Bottom 9, Jay Reese-Familia 2-on 1-out jam, but he gets Yudo Escobar on the game-ending double play ground out. Your winners on Tuesday, the New York Mets.
And Kirk Newman-Heiss, of all people, plays the hero with the go-ahead home run for the Mets, and that was just about the dagger that the Mets needed. On September 26th, the Mets, for the first time in almost 10 years, won the National League East.
He struck him out! Tears of joy for the 2015 New York Mets, National League Eastern Division champions! Coaches. It's been 9 years in waiting for this organization and its fans. It's been a lifetime in waiting for that man. And the Mets have done it.
So the Mets are National League Eastern Division champions. They are going to the playoffs. And it was an interesting end of the regular season before the playoffs because on the last day of the season, they were no hit by Max Scherzer, which, hey, no shame in that. That was the second no-hitter he had that season. And the Mets became the second NL team to get no hit twice in a season. They finished the regular season 90-72. So now it's time, of course, to meet the Mets. Yoenis Cespedes was the biggest key performer on this team in his short time. In just 249 plate appearances with the Mets, he put up 2.6 FWAR. His 17 home runs were tied for second in the NL. The Mets went 7-22 from his debut onward. So with the Mets, he slashed 287, 337, 604 for a 942 OPS. He set records for Mets seasons between 165 and 350 plate appearances, slugging, OPS, and OPS plus with 155. He was also second in home runs in Mets seasons between 165 and 350 plate appearances, and he finished 13th in the MVP vote. And how about the guy who was with him the whole season and did well the whole season? Outfielder Curtis Granderson slashed 259, 364, 457 for an 821 OPS. His OBP, that 364, that was 12th among outfielders. His 357 WOBA was 15th among outfielders, and his 131 weighted runs created plus was 10th among outfielders. He finished 18th in the MVP vote. Lucas Duda, power hitting first baseman, 27 home runs, an 838 OPS, a 359 WOBA, and 132 weighted runs created plus. Daniel Murphy, he missed some time due to injury, but he had a 7.1% strikeout rate, which led second baseman. He also had 109 weighted runs created plus, which ranked 8th among second basemen. Rookie Michael Conforto came up for about 200 plate appearances and slashed 270, 335, 506, 841 with a 359 WOBA and 133 weighted runs created plus. Wilmer Flores from the life after almost getting traded, 296 with an 808 OPS from that point on. Mets hitters put up 24.6 FWAR, and that ranked 6th in the majors and 3rd in the NL. That's during the whole season. Now let's get to the pitching. Jacob deGrom, he had a 2.54 ERA. That ranked 6th in the majors. He had 205 strikeouts and 191 innings pitched, and he went 7th in the Cy Young vote. Matt Harvey won National League Comeback Player of the Year, and deservingly so. Coming back from Tommy John, he had a 2.71 ERA, which ranked 8th in the majors, and had 188 strikeouts and 189.1 innings pitched. The Dark Knight rose again. DeGrom and Harvey were one of 3 pairs of teammates in the first 3 seasons in the live ball era to pitch 180 innings pitched, 140 ERA plus or better. How about that? Noah Syndergaard, the rookie, he had a 3.24 ERA. He became one of 5 rookie pitchers of all time with a sub-3.5 ERA, at least 9.85 Ks per 9, and at least 150 innings pitched. The other 4 were Doc Gooden, Hideo Nomo, Kerry Wood, and Rick Ankiel. In the bullpen, Jerry's Familia, 48 save opportunities, 43 saves. He only blew 5. He had a 1.85 ERA and a 1 flat whip. The Mets had the only rotation in baseball that year to allow less than 2 walks per 9 innings, and the starting pitcher had a 3.44 ERA that was 4th best in the majors.
That leads into the National League Division Series. And, you remember when Daniel mentioned that the Mets were the second National League team to ever be no-hit twice? Well, the first team to do it was the 2015 Dodgers. So this was a perfect matchup with them playing the Dodgers in the National League Division Series. And in Game 1, pitching definitely dominated, fittingly enough, as they were the first two National League teams to be no-hit twice. Jacob deGrom went 7 innings pitched, allowed 5 hits, no runs, 1 walk, and struck out 13 batters. He had a game score of 79. Also, his 13 strikeouts remain the most strikeouts in a postseason debut since 2010.
How about that?
Also, offense would be provided in the 4th inning, courtesy of Daniel Murphy.
1-6 that Clayton Kershaw has struck out in the first 3 innings. That ball's well hit to right. I mean, really well hit to right. And the Mets are on the board.
So Daniel Murphy puts the Mets on the board, making it 1-0 in the 4th inning. And the Mets eventually got 2 more runs in the 7th inning on a David Wright single with the bases loaded. And the Mets won that game 3-1. And then in game 2, in the second inning, it was Yoenis Cespedes' turn to get things started.
2-2 from Greinke. That's in the air to right and pretty well hit. Ethier goes back to the track, leaping, and that ball is gone. Yoenis Cespedes has given the New York Mets the Game 2 lead.
The power, indeed.
Cespedes, no home runs in his last 60 at-bats. Picks a good time to break out. Looks like it's a fastball out over the plate. Tries to get it on the outside corner, just a little up. But this shows you how strong he is.
Yoenis Cespedes continues his regular season dominance with that home run. And later in that inning, Michael Conforto comes up to the plate.
Conforto played 56 games, made his big league debut against the Dodgers on July 24th, and in the process became the 1,000th New York Met in history when he made his debut. Boy, he rifled that ball down the line in right. Fair or foul? Fair ball. Home run. Michael Conforto has connected off Zach Greinke.
Can't wait to see the exit speed off of that one. That was a laser down the right field line.
Welcome to the playoffs.
So another 2 home runs in an inning for the New York Mets, giving them the lead. And in the 7th, the Mets were leading 2-1, but the Dodgers had men on the corners with 1 out, and Howie Kendrick coming up for the Dodgers.
Up the middle, gloved by Murphy. There's one, and they will not get the double play. Wow, did Chase Utley go in hard at second as the tying run scores. Tejada is down. The game is tied.
He was going to turn that way to make a throw. Utley got off on a great secondary lead, and he gets right there to break up the double play.
Didn't even start sliding till he was even with the bag. This is a play you used to see it happen a lot 30 years ago. Very rarely see it happen now.
I'm wondering, how do they treat Utley not touching second base?
Well, that'll be up to Terry Collins right now, who can say, look, I'd like to challenge as well, and say the runner never touched the bag.
And so everyone remembers what happened in that situation. Tough.
I still can't, to this day, I can't believe Chase Utley was called safe. Like, he did not even attempt to go for the bag at all, even if Tejada didn't touch.
Yeah, that's it's tough. It's tough. However, and also the Dodgers went on to win that game, but Chase Utley became public enemy number 1 in the state of New York. And then
now the Mets are also playing with a chip on their shoulder. Like, the Dodgers are out for blood, and the Mets are, they're sort of, I don't want to say they're on like a moral high ground because they're not sweeping players' legs out, but like, they need to win for Ruben now.
Yeah, and the Dodgers, they had plenty of postseason experience. They had won the division, 2 straight years, but they had yet to make the World Series in those 2 years. So they were also a very hungry team. And in Game 3, the action started in the player introductions. Take a look at this.
Number 26, infielder Chase Utley. And joining us in front of the New York Mets dugout, number 11, infielder Ruben Tejada.
And later on in the game, it started out with the Dodgers getting hot to ruin the fun for the Mets fans. Yasmani Grandal hit a 3-run homer in the second to make it 3-0 Dodgers. But in the next half inning, the Mets loaded the bases with a run already in for Curtis Granderson.
Back to the top of the Mets order now in Curtis Granderson, who hit a little number back to the mound his first time. In the air, pretty well hit to center field. And that ball is off the wall. It's going to clear the bases. Curtis Granderson delivers a bases clearing double. After giving up 3, the Mets answer with 4, and they're not done yet.
And the Mets take the lead in Game 3 of the National League Division Series in 2015, making it 4-3. And then in the next inning, in the third inning, catcher Travis d'Arnaud hit a 2-run homer to make it 6-3 Mets. And in the fourth, Daniel Murphy hit an RBI single to make it 7-3 Mets. And that led to Yoenis Cespedes with 2 on in the fourth inning.
Couple of runs scored, and that ball is absolutely scorched to left. 3-run shot, and the Mets have blown it open.
So Yoenis Cespedes brings the house down in Queens, in New York for the Mets, and the Mets end up winning the game 13-7. And then in Game 4, the Mets have a chance to clinch in Queens, but Clayton Kershaw was given the start on short rest, and the offense couldn't figure him out, and they only had 2 plate appearances the whole game with runners in scoring position. Steven Matz gave up, rookie Steven Matz gave up RBIs to Adrian Gonzalez and former Mets player Justin Turner, and the Dodgers would end up winning that game 3-1, leading to a winner-take-all game in Game 5 in Los Angeles. So the Mets have to play for their life. And they got a run in the first on a Daniel Murphy double, but the Dodgers scored 2 in the bottom of the first. And in the fourth inning, Daniel Murphy played some heads-up baseball on the bases.
When he's not, he's not.
Down low, and Duda's going to check again with Cedarstrom. Make sure that is ball 4. They're at first and second.
You know, here's an interesting stat.
And look at Murphy taking third.
That's because of the shift. No one got over the third base. Everyone on the right side, no one guarding third base, and Murphy takes advantage of it.
How about this?
So it's a walk. Now he takes it. He takes a look at who's there.
And you see the third baseman is Justin Turner, who's still on the right side. Nobody over there to cover. Heads up by Murphy.
So Daniel Murphy catches the Dodgers sleeping, and that leads to a run as the next batter hit a game-tying sacrifice fly. And in the sixth inning, Daniel Murphy once again comes up to the plate, looking to give the New York Mets, the lead in Game 5.
By pitching in the stretch.
The 3-2 is driven to right. That ball is gone. Daniel Murphy has broken the tie. Here in the sixth, it is 3-2 Mets.
And Daniel Murphy comes up clutch for the Mets, giving them the lead, making it 3-2. And after Jacob deGrom pitched 6 strong innings and Noah Syndergaard pitched 1 inning, Juris Familia came in for the save.
Familia to the plate, and he struck him out. And the New York Mets have won the series. And they will meet the Chicago Cubs in the National League Championship Series. The Mets come to LA and beat the Dodgers to win the series.
And there it is. The Mets win their first playoff series since 2006. And it was because of some key performers like Daniel Murphy, who hit .333 with an 1143 OPS in the series with 3 home runs and 5 RBI. Curtis Granderson was also a big factor. He slashed .389, .476, .500 for a .976 OPS. Wilmer Flores, he slashed .300, .417, .400 for an .817 OPS in 10 plate appearances. Also, Jacob deGrom, of course, was unbelievable. He went 2-0 with a 1.38 ERA in the series, with 20 strikeouts in just 13 innings pitched. And Jeurys Familia, the last guy you saw there, he was spectacular. He allowed no runs in 5 1/3 innings and also saved 2 games for the Mets in the series.
So the Mets are now going to the National League Championship Series, and they are against another team with a hefty playoff drought, even more so than the Mets, and that is, of course, the Chicago Cubs. They had gone 107 years without a World Series at that point, and it was 70 years since they had been to a World Series. So this is big for them. But the Mets had to spoil their plans, and they did just that in Game 1. Matt Harvey went 7 2/3 innings pitched with 4 hits allowed, 2 runs, 2 walks, and 9 strikeouts. And in the first inning, Daniel Murphy checked in with another home run. And later, in a 2-1 Mets game in the 6th, Travis d'Arnaud comes up trying to extend the lead.
And it's 3-1 to d'Arnaud. That's in the air to center field. Fowler goes back. That ball is gone! Travis d'Arnaud with a bomb to straightaway center.
Travis d'Arnaud hits it right off the casing of the home run apple. Way beyond the 408 mark in straightaway center for d'Arnaud, his second home run of the postseason, and the Mets have a 3-1 lead.
Wow.
That ball was crushed.
He hit the apple.
He bruised the fruit. He hit it right off of that apple, Howie, in its casing, and it bonked over to the left center field bleachers. That's the longest home run I've ever seen Travis d'Arnaud hit. And he hit it through a knifing wind over a disbelieving Fowler. And John Lester shaking his head like, really? Yeah, really.
So Travis d'Arnaud takes a bite out of that big apple, and it helps the Mets to a 4-1 win. They win Game 1, go up 1-0 in the series. So now in Game 2, the Mets hit the ground running early against eventual Cy Young winner Jake Arrieta. After David Wright hit an RBI double in the first inning, Daniel Murphy came up looking to do some more damage.
That's in the air to right. That's pretty deep. That ball is gone! Daniel Murphy has struck again!
So now it is 3-0 Mets after 3 batters, and meanwhile on the mound, Noah Syndergaard, as a rookie, was dealing.
Well, Noah Syndergaard's first start in the major leagues was at Wrigley Field against the Chicago Cubs, and here he gets them in the postseason.
Down the left field line, as Schwarber goes down swinging by Noah Syndergaard. Runner going, and Rizzo strikes out. If you ask Mets fans, inside corner, strike 3 called. The 1-2. Swung on and missed. Strikeout number 4 for Syndergaard in the regular season. And he strikes out here. 1-2 to Schwarber. Strike 3 called. Seven strikeouts, 2 down. 2 more strikeouts for Syndergaard. Payoff pitch to Schwarber. And he got him again. Noah Syndergaard leads to a thunderous ovation here at Citi Field.
So the Mets ride the Syndergaard. They win that game 4-1. They're up 2-0 in the series. And now it shifts to Wrigley for Game 3. And Yoenis Cespedes got the Mets going with an RBI double in the first, but Kyle Schwarber of the Cubs tied it quickly with a homer. However, these efforts by the Cubs were simply no match for the great Daniel Murphy.
And this ball is drilled to right center field. It is deep. Man alive, Daniel Murphy has homered for the 5th straight postseason game.
So Daniel Murphy with another home run. And oh, by the way, DeGrom was pitching that game. He went 7 strong innings. Cespedes had 2 RBIs. The Mets won the game 5-2, and they were 1 game away from the World Series. So now in Game 4, of course, the Mets are, like I just mentioned, 1 game from the Fall Classic, and Lucas Duda did not want to wait any longer.
Runners will be on the move on the 3-2 pitch to Duda. In the air to center field. Well hit. Fowler back. Home run, Lucas Duda. And it's a 3-0 New York lead in the first. 3 for 24 in the postseason without a home run. And what a spot he picked.
He's got silly power. And this is just a swing, a line drive, almost has some backspin on it, carries all the way out of left center field, almost dead center.
So Duda with a 3-run homer and a 2-run double. And that is just about all the cushion the Mets would need. But of course, in the 8th inning, the Mets were leading 6-1. And, well, I don't even think I have to say it. I think you all know what's about to happen. So let's just watch this clip.
The 1-1. In the air. Deep right center field. That ball is gone! Daniel Murphy has homered in 6 straight postseason games. Nobody's ever done it before.
Bradbury, science fiction. It's not really happening. Can't be.
So Daniel Murphy homers in 6 straight postseason games. That is his 7th home run of the postseason in just his 9th game. He is killing it. And in an 8-1 lead, Jerry's Familia brings the Mets to the Fall Classic.
And strike 3 called. They haven't been to the World Series since 2000, and the Mets are on their way back. At McFadden's, far from last call.
Of his team.
So the Mets, for the first time in 15 years, are going to fight for the World Championship. And surprise, surprise, Daniel Murphy was the NLCS MVP. He hit .529, .556, .1294 for an 1850 OPS in the series. He had 4 home runs and 6 RBI. Lucas Duda had a very easy case for MVP if it wasn't for Daniel Murphy. He hit 400, 455, 900 for a 1355 OPS. He had a 1355 OPS and didn't even get any consideration for MVP, and deservingly so, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, wild.
So Travis d'Arnaud, the catcher, 267, 313, 667 for a 979 OPS, excuse me. Jeurys Familia pitched 4 1/3 scoreless innings, and the Mets as a whole had a 2 ERA, 2 flat. So now in the Fall Classic, the Mets are facing the Kansas City Royals, which is another team that we've gone over. If you want to hear more about that team, go to part 2 of episode 41 to hear about the 2015 Royals. So now in game 1, the Mets were up 3-1 after a Travis d'Arnaud single, a Curtis Granderson home run, and a Michael Conforto sac fly. Kansas City tied the game on RBIs from Eric Hosmer and Mike Moustakas. And in the 8th, Juan Lagares scored on an error to give the Mets the lead, but Alex Gordon hit a game-tying home run in the 9th against Familia. And later in the 14th inning, Eric Hosmer hit a walk-off sac fly. The Royals win game 1, 5-4. And in game 2, much different kind of game, much different dynamic. The offense just could not figure out Johnny Cueto, and DeGrom gave up 4 runs over 5 innings, and John Neese gave up another 3. The Royals end up winning that game 7-1. And now in game 3, the series is shifting back to Citi Field. The Mets have their backs against the wall, and Noah Syndergaard comes out firing as quickly as possible in this game.
Here comes Escobar. Syndergaard set to go. Mets fans love it. I don't think Moustakas did.
Now that's announcing yourself. Game on.
Now that's dirty. Then you come back with a hook. It's game on, no doubt about it.
A ball and 2 strikes on Escobar.
One at bat, but already a huge at bat because the statement Syndergaard is making. Not just the first pitch, but especially the last pitch. They get a fastball past Escobar.
Yeah, and I don't care if the first pitch is 80 miles an hour, knocked him off the plate. You had to do it.
So Noah Syndergaard making himself as intimidating as possible as a rookie, and he wasted no time making the Royals uncomfortable in the box. And by some miracle, they actually got a run that inning in the first. But the lead didn't last long as David Wright came up in the bottom of the first with a man on. The captain, in his first World Series at-bat at Citi Field, lights up the crowd, gets it going, and the Royals, they took back the lead in the second, but Curtis Granderson came back up in the third, looking to take it back.
Driving up very often in this game, not the same velocity.
That is hooked into the corner. At the wall, it's gone. Mets back on top.
So Curtis Granderson hits a 2-run home run and gives the Mets back the lead. And after that, the Mets pulled away. They end up winning the game 9-3, their first World Series win since 2000. Now in Game 4, it was a pitcher's duel for the first few innings. So then Michael Conforto, the rookie, Noah Syndergaard's rookie World Series night was last night. So now it's time for Michael Conforto to change the idea that it's a pitcher's duel.
2016. Conforto hits one into right. Down the line, it is gone. Home run for the rookie. And the Mets lead 1-0 in Game 4 here in the third. Two-two pitch. Fly ball into right. Will this carry? He has got another. Conforto
So Michael Conforto hits 2 home runs in one game in the World Series, and unfortunately, the Royals would score 3 runs in the 8th after an error by Daniel Murphy, and the Royals would win the game 5-3. They were up 3-1 in the series. So now in Game 5, the Mets are trying to prevent elimination, and Curtis Granderson wastes no time getting the Metropolitans on the board.
1-2 overall this postseason.
So Curtis Granderson gets the Mets going. He wants to stay alive. And another guy who wants to stay alive, well, that was Matt Harvey, the Dark Knight.
Here are the numbers for the right-hander Matt Harvey. The numbers during the postseason after he was a 13-game winner in his first season back after recuperating from Tommy John surgery. Good start for Harvey. Inning over. Runner goes on a ground ball to short. Flores. The tag for the out. A 1-0 pitch. That's right side. Murphy got one. And got them both. Double play. 1 away.
Tommy John by Harvey. That's in the ground.
And now 2 out as Harvey, who did go through Tommy John, has struck out 4 on the night. Another strikeout, 4 straight. Got him looking, 2 out. Yep. Climb aboard, says Matt Harvey. They call him the Dark Knight. He struck out 8 through 5. The 2-2. 2 out. Left side, right. Harvey through 7. In the air to center. Right there, Lagares. How about Matt Harvey? Through 8. And here we go in the dugout after the top of this inning.
This began with a long conversation between Dan Worthen, the pitching coach, and Terry Collins. Worthen delivering the bad news. Whoa, I'm going to go talk to the boss about this. No way. No way are you taking me out of this game.
Now you can see him sprint out there to the mound. See if he can settle himself. The 0-1. That's in the air to left. Back, Conforto, it's over his head. Up against the wall. 1 run scores in the tying run to second, Hosmer. And that's it for Matt Harvey. Familia will take over. Harvey knocked out in the 9th inning in Game 5.
So Matt Harvey pitches into the 9th inning. You know, he may have gotten left out a little too long, but regardless, a great outing from him. And after he departed, he unfortunately would not get the win. The Royals tied the game on Eric Hosmer's mad dash to the plate, and they took the game to extras. And in the 12th inning, the Royals scored 5 runs and won the game and won the World Series. So the dream is over for the Mets, but a pennant-winning season is one for the books. Curtis Granderson in the World Series, 250, 360, 700 with a 1060 OPS. And Michael Conforto, a rookie, 333 average, 313, 733 for a 1046 OPS. Jeurys Familia throughout the whole postseason, an 0.61 ERA, a 102, 137, 130, 163, 301 slash line against in 14 and 2/3 innings pitched. So, Chris, this team did not win the World Series, but they have a lasting legacy on New York baseball culture and MLB culture as a whole. They proved their doubters wrong in March, who didn't think they would make the postseason. They proved their doubters wrong in July, who didn't think they would be anywhere without a big bat. They got the big bat, and they beat the Nationals. And they proved their doubters wrong in October, who probably thought they wouldn't get by the Dodgers or the Cubs. And Daniel Murphy's NLCS is probably the biggest postseason memory from this team, and that will live on in infamy. And I think one thing that stands out about this team is just how much the culture changed when Yoenis Cespedes came in.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a very memorable team, even for a team who didn't win the World Series. You know, it was everyone's gonna remember Daniel. As you said, everyone's gonna remember Daniel Murphy's NLCS. Everyone's gonna remember Yoenis Cespedes kind of taking over in Queens. So yeah, it was a very, very very cool team. Especially, you would have thought it would have set up for more success with the Mets because it was their first their first successful team since about 2006. It could have set up for something, but unfortunately it has not yet. But, luckily they still got DeGrom on the books for a while.
One thing that stands out to me is if you go back and watch the highlight of Wilmer Flores, when he almost got traded, if you just look at the atmosphere at Citi Field and compare it to days later on that Sunday night game against the Nationals, the atmosphere at Citi Field is entirely different. It's a different place. You would never believe it's in the same week. And I get, in one of them, it's a weeknight game where they're losing 7-2, and another one is a Sunday night game. I get that, but still, just logistically, try to wrap your head around the fact that that's the same team, the same place, and the same week is mind-boggling. And it's all that we one trade and a really good series.
Yeah, and it was a very likable team too from the Mets. From the Mets point of view, Mets fans' point of view, and from baseball fans' point of view.
This team was easy to root for.
Yeah, they were very easy to root for, and if they maybe the national perspective wanted the Cubs to win in the NLCS, but I don't think no one was mad outside of Cubs.
No one had a problem with the Mets.
Yeah, no one.
And I think people just had to root for Daniel Murphy at that point too. It's like, well, let's see him do it again. How cool would it be if he hit another homer? And then he did. He homered in all 4 of the NLCS games.
Yeah, it's just it was unbelievable, and yeah, very likable team. I remember it was fun when they were having success, seeing all the New York celebrities going to the games.
Yep. Like Jerry Seinfeld, Billy Joel.
Yeah, everyone knows the Yankees fans by now, but you kind of got to see the celebrity Mets fans coming out to the games.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. So that is going to close the book on the 2015 New York Mets. It is not our favorite part of the show. Next week, we are not doing history. We are going to do a season preview before the 2020 season, so be sure to tune into that. We will be doing our standings predictions. We will probably be reiterating some of our sleeper players on each team, maybe our sleeper teams. Some expectations going into the season. We'll probably do some over-unders and questions and stuff, things like that. It's going to be a fun time, and we hope you guys can all tune in.
Yeah, and anyone who was listening to the first half of the history series, we thank you for listening. The ride was definitely very good.
We're not finished here.
If
you still got to do your team, we will eventually. But we're going to hold it off for the offseason so that we're not intertwining history with current MLB news during a season.
Yeah, and this will definitely be better for the offseason, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the conclusion of the episode. So we thank you for listening to our Eddie Matthews and 2015 Mets episode. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure to check us out on our YouTube channel. It is called STBNL with Chris Gianta and Daniel Curran. Also, if you want to follow us on Twitter, follow me at Chris_Gianta and follow Daniel at Daniel_Curran. Also follow our Instagram at STBNL Podcast.
Yes.
And that will do it. That will do it for the first half of the history series. We hope you enjoyed the Eddie Matthews in 2015 Mets episode. And we hope to see you next, probably Tuesday, when we are doing our season predictions episode. See you then.